Hey everybody, it's your friend Daniel Hutchins, and today we are doing another live stream today from YouTube Studios. Again, we are going to be doing some information regarding Aunt May from Spider-Man movies, and we're going to be talking about other things too. So hang on to your hats because this is going to be a long one. So I'm just warning you right now, if you don't like long videos, then you're in the wrong place. But if you do like long videos, stick around. There's going to be a lot of stuff mentioned. So first we're going to talk about Aunt May. So the actress has says that nobody gives a shit that she's in the Spider-Man movies. So Marisa Tomei says that nobody gives a shit that she's in the Spider-Man movies. Anticipation from No Way Home is at fever pitches, but again, Marisa Tomei's family is less than effused, according to this Aunt May actor. Couple minutes ago, fresh off the truck. So, as premiere date for the hugely anticipated Marvel movie, No Way Home, has drawn nearer, Aunt May actress Marisa Tomei kept things real while discussing her family's subdued reaction to her role. During an interview with Backstage OI, or OL, whatever the fuck it is, Tomei was asked what her family thinks about her part of the massively popular Spider-Man film franchise. Her answer was definitely not what the interviews expect, and probably not what most fans would expect either. So I don't think anyone gives a shit because for my nephew, who's like 6, she said, I mean, honestly, I don't think anyone's too impressed with me. Latest article, new Spider-Man No Way Home footage shows the MCU literally ripping apart. We're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. Again, we're going to keep going, and there's a video you can watch of her interview on YouTube. Marissa Tomei claims that nobody cares that she's in Spider-Man No Way Home. Watch that on YouTube. Again, it's by somebody else, but go watch it after this video is done. Again, let me know your thoughts though. But again, Tomei's family may seem like in a slew of other roles and she's played in her career, though it spans for 5 decades, from her Academy Award winning My Cousin Vinny to the acclaimed role in Wrestler and cameos from Trainwreck. She starred in numerous other things as well. Now, we don't have to spend too much time on her because she was originally introduced from Civil War. And she also met Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., as he's trying to enlist Spider Man to his side. She's also had the appearance in Endgame, bookended by her roles from the previous Tom Holland Spider Man films, Homecoming and From Far From Home. Related to this article, Spider Man No Way Home cut has Tom Holland's brother from the film. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So Aunt May is up to something and No Way Home remains to be seen. Now again, Aunt May, her character, doesn't make an appearance in any of the trailers or footage released far. Again, in 2020, however, she said in discussions that her future has taken place, and John Watts has always talked about her being a community organizer. She's even said, hopefully this track will expand to be part of this one, she said. So the film is expected to make a huge backsplash on the holiday season, with some projections seeing it as potentially one of the highest grossing movies ever released in history. Again, with beloved cast members returning from the Spider-Man universe like Dr. Octopus and Electro, it's no wonder why fans are so rabid about Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man facing off against them in Spider-Man No Way Home, which again, like I said a billion times, it opens up on December the 17th. Make sure you watch it. If you're a hardcore Spider-Man fan, you should definitely see it. Just saying. So, now, on a side note, we are going to check some other stuff out from our friends at CBR, of course, because that's what we're doing. So, yeah, we're doing that, and then we're doing more stuff later. But again, okay. So now I'm just gonna put on my Spider-Man mask and I'm going to be doing some talks of Spider-Man Dan. But of course, we're not talking about Spider-Man with Spider-Man Dan mask. We're talking about something completely different. Something which was never brought up ever before. So, okay, so you see, I have my mask and I'm not wearing the shirt or the costume because, again, this is a limited time series. So, given that, I'm just going to keep going. So, rumor says that Ant-Man 3 has turned an established MCU villain into MODOK. So, new rumors have claimed that the long absent MCU villain has transformed in MODOK and Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. This was from several hours ago. Rumors have said from Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania that they've merged. The new report claiming the existing Marvel Cinematic Universe villain is going to return with MODOK. Now, according to GWW, which is some news site, Corey Stoll will not only come back in third Ant-Man film, but the former Yellow Jacket will transform into MODOK. This villain in the first Ant-Man, the finale, has seen him shrink down in the quantum realm. Now, fans have long wondered if he could return, seeing as Janet Van Dyne, Hank Pym, and Scott Lang have all been gone through and out of it. Again, earlier this year, rumors have emerged that he would appear in Quantumania. Again, latest article, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania crew gears up, offers, and first looks at Kang the Conqueror. But we're not talking about that, we're going to keep going. Obviously, it seemed likely that Stoll is going to play the same character again, especially after the Yellow Jacket Easter eggs, which appeared in Loki. If this rumor is true, then the Darren Cross time in the quantum realm is going to transform him into the live-action MODOK, which is a villain that's long been rumored to arrive in Marvel Cinematic Universe. What makes this potential change even more intriguing is the another rumor that recently said that Jim Carrey was going to play MODOK, but that rumor is likely to appear on She-Hulk and other Disney Plus shows. It's also noted that there's a chance the character is going to debut in Ant-Man 3. This, through both rumors, of course, is that MODOK will soon join MCU. It's also safe to say and assume that Stoll will play the same kind of role in Quantumania. Latest article, Paul Rudd addresses Bill Murray's Ant-Man and the Wasp role. We're not talking about that, we'll keep going. This wouldn't be the first time that a long-absent villain returned to the MCU in a new form. The Red Skull seemingly perished from First Avenger after picking up Tesseract Space Stone and appeared Infinity War and the Guardian of Soul Stone on Vormir. Again, outside this twist, Marvel Studios regularly tweaks into comic book source materials to fit into universe in films and TV shows. Considering how unusual this character MODOK is going to be, an existing villain mutating in parallel dimension isn't hard to imagine. Yellow Jacket suit could easily be warped into MODOK's similar yellow armor, given fact they both have yellow. Again, for now, however, all these are simply rumors, but again, you have to wait until July 28th of 2023 to find out. Again, so that's what's going on with the rumors with MODOK. So I thought I should bring that up because some of you guys might want to know what that is. Okay. So now we're talking about Fantastic Four. Yes, Fantastic Four. Now, I don't talk that much about Fantastic Four, but we're going to keep talking about it because we're going to be talking about the Human Torch. Yes, the Human Torch. So, the Human Torch is no longer who you think. Now, this is a twist. Again, the Fantastic Four have a fair share of issues, most of which are from the cosmic radiations that gave them the powers or the villains that collide them and results. No one on the team knows these struggles more than Ben Grimm, we know as the Thing. But in decades after, we've learned to live with his ability, giving him his raw strength. Again, This exemplified recently when he's helped his best friend and teammate Johnny Storm, we know, Human Torch, cope his power boost from Doctor Doom. However, this particular enhancement means that he can no longer control his ability to ignite his flame, makes him more dangerous than ever before. Again, latest article, how Marvel made Spider-Man hottest relationship weird with the clone twist. We're not talking about that, we keep going. The events leading up to during the wedding of Doctor Doom has had us ask the confident question, victorious for her hand in marriage. Again, even though she's accepted, this doesn't stop her from reigniting an old fling with Johnny Storm. This result of Johnny's careless actions of Doom's wedding is ruined alongside Johnny's old relationship with Alien Sky. Again, Fantastic Four 34 by Dan Slott as Victorious reveals her affair with Johnny Storm. In retaliations, Doom has fires a weapon for the Armageddon at Johnny Storm. Again, the concentrated cosmic ray that enhanced his flaming ability to a point where it virtually is impossible for him to return to human form. His change in powers and Doom's ways of punishing Johnny has ultimately changed his character completely and forever. So again, the Marvel Multiverse big danger is the evil Fantastic Four. But we're not talking about that. We're going to keep going. Zora Vukovic, aka Victorious, was introduced in Fantastic Four #1 by Slott and Sarah Pacelli, the Ladvarius champion and daughter of two Synconian spies, and as she's gotten older, she's run the rebellion against Ladvarius' less desirable leaders and has convinced Doom to retake the throne. His gratitude has shown that her own armor of small percentage of the power cosmic has granted her flight, strength, and energy manipulation. Again, as a symbol of inspiration for her country, Victorious has been a loyal warrior of Doom's side ever since the very beginning of their relationship. Now, beginning to rebuild her trust with Doom, Johnny has faced the most difficult challenge the team resident genius, Reed Richards, tries the best to help him out, but seems out of place and has completely lost on how to cure his ailment. The best he can do is give him a fire retardant suit that made him last a limited time until he burns out of him. Because this massive heat output, Johnny has been remained isolated from the team and his family, residing from a fireproof room in the basement. After Sky breaks up with Johnny in Fantastic Four 36, the story takes a somber tone in which Johnny wants to just cry, but his undying flame makes it impossible. Related to this article, Marvel has revealed why Kingpin, Daredevil hatred has been rekindled and justified. We're not talking about that, we're going to keep going. Again, in the past, Johnny's powers have allowed him to attain both a plasma form and a nova form, which ignited to his degrees. He approaches the level of heat that emanates the atomic bomb. However, his current power boost has exceeded even this level, allowing him to reach unprecedented heights. Without the ways to control his powers, Johnny is more dangerous than he's ever been before. However, the power comes with a curse. He must now be isolated from everyone he ever cared about. While he's attained his most powerful form ever, the price is losing his ability to express his emotion, making him boost more tragic than anything else. Now, while the Human Torch may be the most powerful member of Fantastic Four, the price of alienation from everyone he's ever loved, while the change of his powers came from the result of his action, his punishment may prove to be extreme in the long run, but let's keep in mind, guys, the discernible way to manage his power. Again, Johnny may have a long and lonely road ahead, courtesy from the first family, his first enemy, Doctor Doom. Yes, Dr. Doom was responsible for all this bullshit that's been going on between Human Torch and the rest of the Fantastic Four. Okay, so I'm taking my mask off because now I just did two more parts of Talks of Spider-Man Dan. So I had just talked about two articles while I was reading from CBR.com while I was wearing a Spider-Man mask. And to check the history to prove it, I actually talked about MODOK rumor, and I talked about why the most powerful member is no longer who you think. So that counts as two more parts for Talks of Spider-Man Dan because I wore the Spider-Man mask. Now, every time I wear a Spider-Man mask, it counts as another part of reading that Spider-Man Dan. Now, just remember that, guys, because you got to remember that for future reference when I dress in Spider-Man mask again. So, now, if you think about it, now I've just done a few more parts while just wearing the mask during a live stream, which I have done before, but on the last time I've done it, I only did it just one time, but now I just did it for two. So now that's two more parts you don't have to worry about as far as with talking with Spider-Man Dan mask. Now, of course, I'm going to keep going, but again, there's always lots of new content in comic book universe. So, we are just gonna keep finding some things, dude. We're gonna keep finding things. Okay, so we're just gonna find something and we're gonna keep you guys entertained as best as I can. Now, we're gonna be talking about the Batman, but this is a Batman article relating with Joshua Williamson. Joshua Williamson has kicked off a new Batman for the fun era of the Dark Knight. Joshua Williamson, a fan favorite writer who helms the Batman, has hinted what you guys can expect for Dark Knight's international adventure. Now this is from yesterday. In the wake of cataclysmic crossover events The Fear State, Batman and his friends have reclaimed Gotham City from the Magistrate and Scarecrow. In common, Batman writer Joshua Williamson is taking the Dark Knight on a new road. Leaving Gotham, Batman goes international to face off a supervillain we know as Abyss. From a four-part story beginning in December, the Batman 118, joined by acclaimed artist George Melina. Williamson has big plans for Cape Crusader. He's also hinted that his run has tied into DC Universe-wide stories. Again, in roundtable interviews attended by CBR and other comic book universe outlets, Williamson has revealed that the origins behind his opening issues. Now, he cited that influenced the writing and teased upcoming plans for Batman the Dark Knight. Also, included with his discussion and a sneak peek of Batman 118 pages drawn by Melina, colored by Tomei Murray, and lettered by Clayton Cowles. Again, those are just sideline artists, though. But obviously, we know Williamson is the main one. Okay, so latest article: Batman's last Christmas present from his parents might make you cry. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about someone else. Okay. Williamson's admitted he's been attempting to get his friend to draw the DC title for years. He's even showed Batman Group editors some pin-up artwork that they've done from Batman in the past. While discussing with his friend, uniquely has brought the Batman story to life, he shared. We want to draw all these cool villains and Batman doing cool shit. But again, that's inspired Batman to be a party with all the villains. So, explaining the scene to his friend, Scott Snyder, Williamson has praised how much he gave his friend the chance to draw so much more Batman mythos, which is another fancy term for history. Okay, so Williamson has also revealed that Batman 119 and 120 scales back to the crowd scenes of the ease of artistic pleasures for his friend. Now, additionally, it gives his friend things to work with that Williamson hasn't ever seen before in a Batman comic. Noted in particular, there will be a scene where Gotham City celebrates the Batman family, emerging triumphant from the fear state. But the comic will also focus on how the city is celebrating. Bruce can't let himself celebrate this win, though. He has to still fight crime. So, the brief flashbacks incorporated towards the end of Batman 118 allowed his friend to illustrate, and Alfred Pennyworth, who's been dead in DC modern continuity for some time. Williamson compared this approach to the Batman Hush, which he's felt played out the greatest hits of Batman. Again, I think that's pretty cool myself, given that. So, Williamson has shared that he wants to deliver a fun Dark Knight. He felt that Batman has consecutively gone from hell for years of storylines, stretching back from the start of the Rebirth era. Now, Williamson thought this echoed what readers want to see for the past couple of years, but he wants to give Batman and Gotham the much needed win. To help the lighthearted approach, he shared that Oracle and Batman are going to play each other more in his Batman run. Related to Oracle, controversial Robin villain, Dark Batman secret could change anything. But we're not talking about that, we're going to keep going. While discussing supervillain Abyss creation, Williamson has explained his approach to the character was informed by hearing about the Batman Group future plan. Again, outgoing Batman writer to avoid potentially stepping in anyone else's plan. He's decided to craft his story around small matters separate from that of the wider spread Batman family. Now, to do something a little bit smaller in just the case of Batman, he said. So, Williamson has created a new villain based from this story idea he's thought would be narratively visually appealing. Again, his take also provided Batman and his stories with thematic counterparts. Batman has moved toward the light, he's reasoned. Abyss has represented the darkness, while mystery surrounding her character has comprised Williamson's first four Batman issues, he hinted. It's going to be a spin off onto other things. Okay, so while Williamson's drawn plenty of influences from his career, one story that stood out was the Matt Wagner Faces, defined Batman voice. Now that's really important to know because it all ties together, guys. It all ties together. So Williamson has recalled an interview with Michael Keaton from 1992 Batman Returns, where Keaton himself explained his Batman shouldn't speak all that much. He's also echoed this approach for writing Batman, even though Dark Knight's been a prominent presence for his story. In comparison, though, Williamson's noted his approach to Batman is noticeably less verbose than Snyder's, Tinian's, or Tom King's. Okay, so those are just some other artists that have wrote Batman in the past prior. Again, taking Batman out of Gotham helped distinguish Williamson's story more from recent Batman adventures. Start from Batman 122 and 123, he's writing backup stories to take place in Gotham's past, leaning to the classic character era while mixing things up for a main run. The stories really clicked in by adding Lex Luthor and deciding to invert previous Batman Incorporated stories. Now, since you guys probably remember Batman Incorporated, for those who remember Batman Incorporated, leave them down a comment after this video. Again, I want to know your thoughts. It's important because although past comics have shadowy figures targeting international Batman organizations, his runs will showcase someone from Batman Incorporated accused of murder, forcing Batman to deal out with this fallout. Okay, really cool picture of Batman down below it, followed by related. Why Batman's most tragic Robin became the Bat Punisher and how he's been redeemed. We're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. So diving into more of Lex Luthor's future face-off with Batman, Williamson shared we actually figured this scene first. The two of them talking, but then the part where Lex Luthor is basically talking to Bruce about not having money, making fun of his clothes, and hinted that Lex has goes to Hero and unleashes his inner rage to Batman. Again, Williamson's teased that Lex Luthor mentioned in Nightwing his recent activity has set Bruce off. Now, Williamson's compared notes to Tom Taylor's plan for Superman's Son of Kal-El, which is another big story that's now out, which offers Batman the chance to integrate more with the DC universe, which is what we want as fans to see. Again, Williamson's also seek to reclaim the tycoon side of Lex Luthor after seeing him portrayed as a supervillain for so many years. Now, that's important because we like to see fun things happen. Again, this is all these ideas that Williamson has in mind. Again, Williamson's opening art for Batman shows Bruce learning how to recognize to appreciate his victory while he's with his friends and his allies are occupied. Again, Williamson's observed these four issues are a lot about setting up a couple of things that are going to be more emotional things from the story. Now, doing in the spring, the story coming with Bruce and Damian together and the bigger picture about how emotional this will be. It'll be the first time in a long while when DC Comics has Damian and Bruce together again. Now, there's a couple of different scenes from Robin 11 and 12 with Damian talking the flatline and Connor Hawk about his dad, and he's going to do some things to see his dad next. He's continued, "Oh, crap, now it looks like I gotta refresh the page. I hate that. Sometimes I'm in the middle of an article and then it just cuts out. It's just so weird. So we're gonna keep going. We just gotta find our place. It's not too far down. We're kind of like almost at the end almost. We just have to find where we were. Okay. So we were just talking about Robin. Yes, Robin. So okay. So latest article, Batman and Nightwing have divided their greatest difference, and it could rip them apart. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about someone else. So, as far as Batman's arsenal and his weapons and gadgets and cars go, figured out that prominently during the Tinian run, Williamson is going to steal away from this approach. The writer admits that the big challenge in helming Batman is working on having a full publishing schedule on various other DC projects. Again, Williamson admits that there's some pressure when writing a main Batman ongo series. Despite this, he's found it somewhat refreshing, while writing Batman compared to writing Flash. A speedster superhero comic doubles shipping every month in McQuan inner monologues of Barry Allen, often runs alone. Again, Williamson's Robin and Batman just runs dials back to internal monologues that adopt some slower narrative pieces. Okay, that's all well and good. More picture below. Then, Williamson hints that the Robin and Deathstroke Incorporated are set for a collision course. And also, Oracle is warning Batman about that. Something bad happens, and then what happens? It pulls in all the stuff, he shared. A lot of things have been building with Bruce and Damian and all the Batman family, and all these Batman things, the stuff that starts coming together. So Williamson shared the Batman will return to Gotham City, but again, he only feels he's ready not due to some crises. Now, Williamson's revealed he's excited for readers to read or see his friend's artwork, bringing the new villain and his unique powers to life for audiences who see primo moments of Dark Knight delivering his signature brands of justice. There are some really, really cool pictures that are illustrated. But again, check out this article here on CBR. I think it's a really great take on Batman. In fact, it's Joshua Williamson kicks off a new fun era for Dark Knight. Let me know your thoughts about it. I think it's a really cool thing that I talked about. So again, now Batman's taken into a new lighter direction. I just think it's just really cool that now you have Batman writers that are actually going to be taking things in different directions. So I think that that's going to be really good, given that Batman's been through a lot of dark, shady things in his past. So now we're going to go to comic book news. We're just going to go to comic book news from CBR, and then after that, I'm going to Screen Rant. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Superman. Yes, we're going to talk about his biological dad, Jor-El. Yes, we're talking about Jor-El. So Jor-El has shaped Superman into a hero he is now, but when finally he's met his father, he turns out to be a deadly enemy who's made the Man of Steel question everything. So we're going to be talking more about Jor-El, the Superman biological father. So, Superman's biological father, Jor-El, has been a massive influence in Man of Steel's life. That isn't just because he sent to Earth all these years ago, placing him on a heroic quest, but also noted that he's left him, the Fortress of Solitude, along with all the Kryptonian knowledge and wisdom it needs. He's been one of the main forces guiding Kal-El on his way with other superheroes throughout his years, and that is why Jor-El return came to such a shock, because it's so much worse than his legacy. And we're going to explain why. Though it was though he was meant to die with Krypton, Watchman Dr. Manhattan has taken the scientist out of time and made him the pawn of Superman eccentric experiments, which resulted directly in creations of the New 52. The Watchman hero has put Jor-El through the worst Earth that's put to offer him and made him the force that Superman's quest for good was pointless and naive. Now, this is the twist, because after all, the entire worldview has been changed. Jor-El has put the work on Dr. Manhattan, right-hand man, rebranding himself as Mr. Oz. This saw him imprisoning some rogues that harmed the Man of Steel, like Doomsday and Mr. Mxyzptlk. Now, we don't talk about Mr. Mxyzptlk that much, mostly because it's hard to say his name, but it also had to imprison heroes like Tim Drake, who threatened Manhattan's vision of DC Universe. Now, if you don't remember that, then I don't know what you're thinking. So the latest article, Superman's most underrated power is not Kryptonian, but he does get it from his mom. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So even though Jor-El has had his son both have the same powers on Earth, they have the same capacity to help others. The famous Kryptonian scientist has chose to use his abilities for a more evil way by creating crisis after crisis all around the world. He's created unwinnable scenarios for his son, and the Man of Steel, of course, could do very little to stop this chaos. None of this was to kill Superman, though, but far from it, his only goal was to show his son that humanity doesn't deserve him. Though he's originally sent Earth as his savior, having seen the worst the world has had to offer, Jor-El has wanted to take him away again. He's found a planet where everyone had powers that were free to be who they want to be. But there himself, along with Superman, Lois, and John, could live their lives together. Again, what Jor-El didn't count was his son's resistance to such a pessimistic view. So, Superman's been finally able to overpower and overthrow his father, and break up the Dr. Manhattan influence on him. However, this did not change the damage or the chemistry between them that's already been done. He still had a bleak view on humanity, but again was going to inform his action going forward to put him on all odds once again with the Man of Steel. Latest article, why the new Superman has made their power stronger. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. After Dr. Manhattan has left DC Universe, Jor-El has returned to show his grandson the universe. Even though Superman was so hopeful and trusting letting John and Lois go to space, he soon regrets it. But again, his regret has swelled even more when Jonathan Kent returned as a 17-year-old rather than the child he was left as. Now, Jor-El's idea for educating the young boy has put him in the worst place of the galaxy, like the crime syndicate of Earth 3. The experiences are not entirely like that of Jor-El, but again, through the Earth, thanks to Dr. Manhattan's case, despite this, John has come out to be more like his father than his grandfather. Jor-El's poisonous worldview hasn't entirely down for Dr. Manhattan, but his lies before Krypton destruction were part of the reason why Superman revealed his secret identity to the world. This was also everything he's done and why the Man of Steel still struggles with a lot of his father's legacy, even today. So, his scientific ability has combined his Kryptonian ability, focusing particularly on his lack of humanity, and what made him more powerful than Superman. Yet at the same time, guys, he's weaker. Jor-El is weaker. Again, he's weaker. So his distrust of humanity has strong his son's faith, and he lacks Superman's moral codes. He's already proved to be can overwhelm the Man of Steel by exposing him to the worst the universe had to offer, if he chooses to. Now he could devastate reality, all to prove his twisted belief to be true, and Superman would be powerless to stop him. Because after all, Jor-El is his father, and like father and son type thing. That's kind of what follows down in the suit. Again, let me know what your thoughts about that is. I think it's interesting that they have this article now here that was posted. But again, it was posted last month. It was posted last month, but I decided I'd talk about it because it was something that ties in to the history of Superman. Okay, we're going to keep going. So, we are going to. Oh, yeah, I promised you guys I was going to go to Screen Rant. That's right, I'll go to Screen Rant. Yes, we'll go to Screen Rant. Okay, we go to Screen Rant because in the comments, I noticed some of you guys want to see more Screen Rant. Okay. So now we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett because the Book of Boba Fett is going to be coming out in a few short weeks. Actually, a couple weeks away until the release of the Book of Boba Fett. Again, it's going to close out 2021 and go into 2022, which is probably one of the most highly anticipated Star Wars series yet on this roster. Again, Book of Boba Fett trailer has teased the replacement for Jabba's Rancor. So you remember the Rancor from Jabba's palace. You remember from Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi. Okay, so the Book of Boba Fett has a teaser that showcases the character return to Tatooine, implying the Rancor of Jabba's palace may be alive and well, even after 30 plus years later, after the fact, with what happened with the fallout, with what happened in Return of the Jedi. So, the new trailers for Book of Boba Fett teases the return of the Rancor, which was last seen in original Star Wars canon, and it first appeared in the holiday special segment of Star Wars in 1978. The characters also went to appear in Empire Strikes Back before he died in the Sarlacc pit on Tatooine in Return of the Jedi. However, the Disney Plus show The Mandalorian revealed Season 2, Boba Fett is alive and well. He's currently played by Tamira Morrison, who's previously portrayed Jango Fett, the character whom Boba was cloned after in the Attack of the Clones. The solo spin-off series, we know, Book of Boba Fett, which comes on the 29th this month, is going to show the fallen pair of the fighting for controls of the territory once ran by the crime boss we know as Jabba the Hutt. And you know what happened with Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi. You remember in Return of the Jedi how Princess Leia used her chains and had choked Jabba the Hutt. So you remember that. At least you should. If you are real Star Wars fans, you know that. But related to this article, why Boba Fett It's actually The Mandalorian Season 2.5. Okay, we're not talking about that. We'll keep going. Disney Plus revealed a brand new trailer of the series, showcasing a character triumphant return on Tatooine, which is a very, very, very famous planet in Star Wars universe. Now, in the end of the minute-long clip, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are staring down in the pit of Jabba's palace that used to contain the Rancor. Now, the Rancor, you remember the Rancor. That was the monster that tried to almost eat the heroes. But the teaser doesn't reveal whether or not there is still a beast within the pit, if it was merely an empty cage. You can check out the trailer, a Disney Plus original sneak peek. You can watch the video on YouTube. I might watch it later though, but I'm just saying, the Rancor has first appeared from Return of the Jedi, just like I mentioned before I talked about this article. So, Return of the Jedi was the first appearance of the Rancor, which lived underneath Jabba's main meeting space. The creature was a massive bipedal reptile creature about the size of a bear, with huge fangs and a grasping claws. If anyone has displeased Jabba, he would have him thrown in Rancor pit and to be eaten. When Luke Skywalker, who was there on a mission to rescue Han Solo, who was frozen in carbonite in the previous film, he was thrown to the pit who he actually killed the Rancor, much to chagrins of his trainer. Again, considering that Jabba was killed the very same day, it's unlikely he replaced the Rancor himself. However, in intervening years, it is possible there is a new one that could be found by whoever's currently in possession of the palace. Now, noted, likewise, considering the fact that Boba Fett himself had appeared to die in Return of the Jedi, Rancor might not have been dead, and we're going to tell about why. And it looked to be still working in a pit nursing to his wounds. Now, the Book of Boba Fett is sure to reveal this answer as to why. Again, it's really, really, really interesting. So, considering the nature of the Star Wars series, Boba and Fennec Shand will likely encounter some new creature if it doesn't turn out to be the same Rancor. Okay, so let me know what your guys thought about that is. I think it's really cool that there's a possibility that there's going to be a Rancor probably in the new Book of Boba Fett. I think that's really cool because I think, like I said, that is one of like my favorite creatures of all the original Star Wars films. I think it's really cool. So okay, so now we're going to be talking about comic books, but we're going to be talking about Daredevil again. Yes, Daredevil, since he's really popular again in the comic book universe, since he's been recently acquired back by the president of Marvel Studios. But we're not talking about the Marvel Studios version, we're talking about the comic version. So the comic book version of Daredevil has called out Reed Richards' stupidity. Now, Reed Richards in Fantastic Four may be a smart man in the Marvel Universe, but according to Daredevil, he thinks he's a complete idiot. Now, this is from 19 minutes ago, guys. 19 minutes ago. One in the art spoilers from the new Daredevil 36. So, Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four was widely considered to be one of the smartest men of Marvel Universe, but hasn't stopped some people, like Daredevil, calling out him for being an idiot from time to time. The Premier's Explorer, as one of the first superheroes of the company, Reed's reputation has been the scientist completely engrossed his work. This isn't always a positive attributes because in Daredevil 36, he points out exactly what happens when the smart person or the intelligent person ends up with a very narrow field of vision. Again, current Daredevil continuity, Matt Murdock has recently released from prison and has simultaneously uncovered incredibly corrupt within the police force of New York City. While he was on patrol, Murdoch has spotted two people in an alleyway attempting to flee the scene of a robbery. The thieves are cornered by both Daredevil and Reed Richards, who had surprisingly jumped on the scene. But even more surprisingly, though, guys, Daredevil tells of the thieves, go home, call someone you love, tell them what you tried to do tonight, tell them why, and then ask them for help. And he let the thieves go. Okay, so latest article. What if improved Daredevil origin by making Iron Man's fault? But we're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. Reed Richards was astounded. But Daredevil assists or calling the police won't work. There's corruption in the force after all. Reed was concerned that altercations from previous books have between superheroes and New York Police Department might have kicked off another superhuman registration act of a potential civil war. Again, Daredevil encounters, you're a smart guy, the smartest even, but maybe you need to stop using that brain of yours for a while and start looking at all the angles and instead ask yourself what is right. After this, Daredevil swings away, leaving him behind. Again, I think it's pretty weird though, but okay. But we'll keep going. Okay, Daredevil has asserted that Reed overthinks all his angles, and it's not necessarily wrong, but even back in his earlier days of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby run of Fantastic Four, Reed Richards spends his day in his lab shirking off his responsibilities as a spouse and parent, and he seeks for his inventions and discoveries. Granted this, they often help humanity in very weird ways. Again, but Reed's over analytical way of thinking can get him into trouble. With the Marvel Zombies universe, a variation of Reed Richards has deliberately infected himself with a virus, considering the plague to be a next step of evolution, without even thinking about an emotional consequence of the action. While other variants of Reed Richards are not as overly obtuse, the pattern was still there. In the past, Daredevil wouldn't even dream of letting a criminal go. But Daredevil's changed now, so it has an outlook on his life. Perhaps Reed Richards can learn from Daredevil if a man without fear can learn to ask himself what is right. So that too can be the smartest man in the Marvel Universe. Again, let me know your thoughts. I think it's really kind of crazy. Daredevil has called out Reed Richards and calling him stupid. So again, I think it's really interesting, so I wanted to share that to you guys. Okay, time check, guys. You want to know the time check? The time check is actually 47 minutes. So we are going to be talking about some other things. We're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about Black Panther's writer. Yes, Black Panther writer. So Black Panther writer wants him redesigned to look like Vin Diesel. Now that's really weird because an early 2000s reboot of Black Panther has seen a new character take T'Challa's place as Wakanda hero, and he would have almost looked exactly like Vin Diesel. So this was from 40 minutes ago, guys. Marvel's Black Panther has almost looked exactly like Hollywood superstar Vin Diesel. The longtime Black Panther writer has confirmed this long-standing rumor. In fact, Black Panther has so many appearances in the world of Marvel Comics, but during his relaunch of the character, they see many elements have changed. The key change was the look of superheroes entirely have gone to interesting ways. T'Challa, the son of King T'Chaka, the book's radical retools of the characters did not stick. However, neither did Vin Diesel inspired looks. Now, this is not the first time a look of a character Marvel Comics is inspired by real world people, but in Ultimate Marvel Universe, the character Nick Fury was redesigned to resemble Samuel L. Jackson. Reportedly, though, Jackson was not consulted to his likeness being utilized in comic book forms. He eventually consented to the stipulations that would place character in live action starring Fury. Ever came to fruition. Again, Vin Diesel was similarly never consulted. His likeness never ended up being used in the first place, though he came very, very close. Now, latest article, Black Panther is losing his powers as an Avenger and a King. But we're not talking about that. We're going to keep going. In early 2000, the aftermath of 9/11, you remember 9/11, at least all you guys should do, Marvel decides that Black Panther needs an overhaul. Rather than reboot the universe of his character, writer Christopher Priest elects to tell a story of a new character, Kevin Casper Cole, who's the farthest thing from Wakandan King possible. But he's a police officer of New York, struggling with his rent, his relationship with his girlfriend, and every other everyday problems of life from the city. Now, according to him, Oscar Jimenez dove into a project coming up with a model for Casper Cole, Vin Diesel. Once we had the Vin idea of the right color palette of such, Oscar's also run with it. Again, that's really interesting to note as well. Now, unfortunately, plans for Vin Diesel has fell through. Jimenez left the project and was replaced by Dan Fraga, who also left Black Panther retools. Again, Casper Cole eventually made it to print, and he no longer had an appearance of Vin Diesel. Now, thanks to some communication difficulties between Christopher Priest and some new artists we know, George Lucas, not the George Lucas from Star Wars, a different George Lucas. George Lucas like George with a J, not with a G, with a J. Again, different George Lucas than you're thinking. But there were some languages and cultural barriers between George and I. And some of the pop culture concepts, Casper as Vin Diesel, for instance, they have got lost somewhere along the way, but eventually the White Tiger had a soft reboot which couldn't overshadow that of T'Challa Legacy. The character was brought back, although in ways he never left. Now, in benefits of soft reboots rather than universe rewrites, crisis excuse stories. Alright, guys. Unfortunately, T'Challa will not be replaced in an MCU thanks to Chadwick Boseman's passing of 2020. Neither Marvel or Disney has entertained any notion of recasting Boseman. New character will have to don the mask, but is currently unknown on whether who's going to do the role. So, again, I know I talked about that before, but I just wanted to let you know what was going on with this new thing that was out saying Black Panther writer wants him to redesign to look like Vin Diesel. I thought it looked pretty interesting because it had the name Vin Diesel and it had Black Panther and it related both tied together. Again, I thought it's interesting, so that's why I decided to share it. Again, I thought it was cool, so again, you can comment about it later. And we're going to keep going. We're going to find something else. Okay, so now there is now news that Harley Quinn has a new costume. Harley Quinn's new costume has revealed her true self in a hilarious cover art. Now, the Dark Knights of Steel has reinvented Harley Quinn as a medieval jester. She's also running around and having a time of her life of a new variant cover. Again, I think it's really cool. It kind of looks pretty cool because she kind of has like that, that instrument, like Robin Hood character kind of had, but it's like kind of interesting. So she's been wearing the aesthetics for years, but Harley Quinn has finally become a singing jester. And she has always meant to be a brand new variant cover for The Dark Knight of Steel. This series reinvents the heroes of villains of DC Universe in traditional fantasy, the tale of a sword and sorcery tale. Now Harley's no different. She dons her classic Harlequin outfit with a few appropriate touches to fit this new medieval world. The Dark Knight of Steel by Tom Taylor, with classic Elseworld type setup, has rocketed the safety from dying Krypton. Baby Kal-El is joined by father and mother, Jor-El and Lara, only to land of Middle Age era Earth. And this is interesting, because given that it's multiverse, guys, multiverse. Kryptonian family has quickly gained powers of the sun to create a kingdom, kicking off a story with epic adventures, deadly alliances, and brewing wars. The latest article, Harley Quinn has just made Poison Ivy a whole person again, and they are back together. But we're not talking about that, we're going to keep going. So writer Tom Taylor has excitedly revealed the variant cover of Dark Knight of Steel #4 on Twitter, and you can thank the artist Joshua Middleton. The cover shows Harley Quinn wearing an outfit similar to her old suit during her days as Joker's sidekick, though without a mask and quite a number of bells were attached. Harley Quinn is sitting on a wooden cask and she's belting out a tune as she plays on a mandolin. Now, you know the mandolin is the same kind of instrument that they used in the Robin Hood movies. Now, judging by the empty cups nearby, it seemed that she may have enjoyed a drink or two before she had her hand on the mandolin. Okay, Tom Taylor has this new tweet. So glad we can finally share this. Want to show the world since the second hit my inbox. Harley Quinn variant cover in Dark Knight of Steel. Again, she's just sitting on a barrel and she's singing and she's playing a mandolin, just like the instrument they had in Robin Hood. Again, I think it's really cool. So, Harley Quinn, of course, takes her name from the classic crown archetype Harlequin, which is a commedia dell'arte performance known as the servant and the trickster-like character. Even before being the reinvented character, Harley has often fulfilled her role as the classic jester character of main DC Universe. Speaking of that, to her obvious unwilling to hear that, sometimes plotting her own plan and backgrounds. Dark Knight of Steel, Harley Quinn can fully embrace her namesake history, as acting as the Court of Owl's royal jester, delivering news of the mischievous air around her. Again, I think that's interesting. Harley Quinn has plans to handle a common struggle between the kingdom of the coming days is unknown, but for now, she's content with simply telling a joke, taking a drink, and singing a song. Again, that's really cool, because Harley Quinn's a fun character. We could adapt her to almost any situation and add humor if needed. Now, if Dark Knight of Steel takes inspiration from the Renaissance story and has spawned off of it, the dark days ahead of no doubt feature betrayal, bloodshed, and death, the factions which will come later. The dire world will need the bit of merriment and celebrations. Again, but no one is better suited for the job than Harley Quinn. No one, no one is better for a job than Harley Quinn. Because without a doubt, she was biting some commentary from the form of a song when she was ready to go at it with that mandolin. Yeah, buddy, you already know. So let me know your thoughts. Okay, now we're talking about Moon Knight. We're talking about Moon Knight now. So Marvel's Moon Knight has shows why real superheroes would be a bad thing. So Moon Knight early comics have centered a negotiation between public demand and violent retribution of his own principle of justice. This was from 5 days ago. Again, this is a Moon Knight article. We don't talk about Moon Knight a whole lot, so you're in for a treat. So today, Moon Knight may have a reputation of Marvel Comics' strange superheroes, but he wasn't always seen the way that he was created in 1975. During a creative, unprecedented period of Marvel, Moon Knight has quickly evolved to a character who's dealt with grim reality of violent crime in American cities. New York City, to be more exact, where Marvel Comics is based off of. Now, plagued with street violence of shaped people's everyday life, the tense atmosphere where anyone could be a victim of any time, especially present of Moon Knight comics. Now, frequently came to the aid of innocent people who were randomly attacked. So, on more than one occasion, Moon Knight was called to take direct vengeful actions against perpetrators, even when it went off his moral code to do so. Now, when he saw himself as a protector of the people during nighttime, it wasn't that Moon Knight's code is deliver punishment equal to crime committed, it's the fashion of most superheroes. His vision of justice was not rooted to dealing with violence. It's noted that everyone in agreement with Moon Knight method is often clashed with ordinary people who want him the more for the city. So, in short, Moon Knight's created by environment of violence. people he's helped only to conceptualize justice within his terms. Now, latest article, Moon Knight, most problematic power addressed before MCU debut. We're not talking about that, we're going to talk something else. So while it's also noted that Moon Knight, seen as a superhero, both by people of New York and well as creators working in comics, his interaction with the public reveals a disturbing truth about vigilantes. Instead of seeing them as someone who can stop a cycle of violence, ordinary people of early Moon Knight comics will see him as a willing participant of it. Now, despite the fact that he objects to it, the victims of violent crime have implored Moon Knight to hurt people who first hurt him, instead of seeking the justice in more general sense. This contrasts sharply with the Gold Age comics characters like Captain America, Wonder Woman, and Superman, who have inspirational figures and are both the people who save the world for people who read their books. It's hard to imagine an average person asking Superman to beat someone up because his world of comics is built on belief of justice, and Moon Knight has lacked. Now, in turn, Moon Knight vision is justice relies on him actively overcoming public pressure. The physically violent his criminals. Now we're going to keep going, guys, because there's more. With the focus on Moon Knight's relationship with the people of New York, his early books have provided a realistic look at what the world would look like if superheroes were real. Now, it's clear that interactions with them, people see Moon Knight not as figures, but to show him as a better path away from violence. Instead, he's doled out with some people who deem deserving of it, but in his sense, Moon Knight is valued by the public not for the principle of superheroes, but for the vessels of collective rage. So, public encourages Moon Knight to be violent. Now that's weird. But one of the most striking examples of Moon Knight's unusual relationship with public was Moon Knight 26. This book has weirdly brings to life the atmosphere of violence echoing across New York City in the early 1980s. Written by the creator Doug Monich, lettered by Joe Rawson, and colored by Christy Scheel, the skillfully rendered Bill Sienkiewicz, Moon Knight 26 follows a troubled man possessing the death of his abusive dad. Now, angry that his dad died before he could take revenge on him for his physical abuse, the man begins attacking people from the street for no damn reason. Now, one point punching a priest for some weird reason as well. Again, Moon Knight arrives to stop him, but he asks the man, "Did you come to hit me too?" But detail his experience with abuse when he was a child. Now he stands there, and Moon Knight simply asks, "Who? Who hit you?" An effort to de escalate situations. The man says, "My He hesitates. "My father hit me." So after Moon Knight refuses to hit him, the priest says, "You've got to stop him. You're Moon Knight, man." So even so, Moon Knight says, "No, there's been enough hitting tonight. I will not do it." So he retaliates. So the latest article. So Moon Knight really called Dracula a big fucking nerd in comics. We're not talking about that unless you want me to talk about it. I think it's kind of funny it has the word fuck in it, so I might talk about it later. Let's keep going. So Moon Knight interaction with a man, a priest reveals how his identity is seen as synonymous with violence, and the priest has failure to understand why Moon Knight would refuse to hit someone who's clearly experiencing a trauma moment in their life, especially telling of this story and saying, "You're Moon Knight." The priest shows how his view of superheroes is limited to physical, violent intervention as opposed to empathy and de escalations. As the book shows, superheroes aren't to cure an already violent world. Moon Knight's struggle lies in negotiating between public demand and his own principles. Alright, this clash between Moon Knight principle and the public wishes became a recurring theme of his early books. They form a central drama of his character. Later on, Moon Knight number 34, he and his Jake Lockley alter ego has come to aid a woman, we know it's Gina, who was attacked by a neighborhood boy. Again, as she was wheeled into an ambulance, Jake assures her there will be no harm when it came the boy before she interjects, saying, I want that ungrateful little maggot harmed. Now that's just kind of weird, but let's keep going. So I want him harmed so badly he won't be able to walk upright again. Wow, that's strange. But shocked, Jake walks away thinking, wow, that's not what Moon Knight stands for, is it? Well, I'm an agent of vengeance, not vengeance himself. I never want to look into the eyes of someone I care for and say so much hatred and despair here. It's seen too many times before, even within myself. So let's not go too crazy with this. But again, this is interesting. So the latest article, Superman and Spider-Man best team up wasn't as heroes. We're not talking about that. We keep going. Unless you want me to talk about it, I'll do it later. Again, I said I was going to do another article later. So let's just keep going. So Gina and Moon Knight interaction is clear that she views him as an extension of her rage, delivering a personal sense of vengeance on her behalf. Rather than as symbols of this grand idea, the people like Gina, again, Moon Knight's a figure above society law, a body that merely doles out punishment equal to crime. Now, instead of being understood within a specific moral or framework, Moon Knight's a blank slate of society grievance, contrasting sharply with a character like Superman. So, in turn, this was what makes internal conflict so compelling. While he is sympathetic on the plight of innocent people in his city, Moon Knight doesn't lose sight in the fact to tap him to find another path beyond justice and violence. There's more peaceful ways of solving things. So, again, Moon Knight's one of Marvel's most complicated characters, not just because multi layer backstories, but because his own confrontation with violence has inherited the superhero genre. While he was a grown beyond specificities of the 20th century New York, his early comics have provided startling visions of relationship between superheroes and the public he has sworn to protect. While there is plenty of reasons to believe he is a principled hero that could do a lot of good in real life, his existence as a costume vigilante has led ordinary people to believe that justice can be achieved from physical means, not by understanding context behind the crime. Now, again, I think it's really weird, though, but we keep going. So, in a sense, Moon Knight comics proved that putting on a costume is dehumanizing effect for not just Mark Spector, but for everyone in New York City. Consumed by their own rage, they have lost the sight of human elements that play in your life. Now, that's just kind of sad, people. That's just sad. So people become things deserving the hit rather than understand the help. Again, also really sad. While Moon Knight reflections of this are immensely refreshing, they have further evidence a truth about superheroes, and it would make their existence real life especially troubling. I think that's really weird, guys, but again, this is all true. This is all true. All the stuff I'm saying is true. But we're going to keep going. We're going to go up to that thing I chuckled about earlier. Okay, the article that I chuckled about earlier. As I said, did Moon Knight really call Dracula a big fucking nerd in the comics? Now, this just made me chuckle because it said the words big fucking nerd. I think that's funny because, I mean, anything that has the word fucking or fuck just makes me chuckle. I don't know. It just kind of the immaturity I have, I guess. So, did Moon Knight really call Dracula a big fucking nerd in comics? While popular internet memes have seen Moon Knight calling Dracula a big fucking nerd, it's actually real. It's real, guys. It's real. Did Moon Knight really call Dracula a big fucking nerd? It's real, guys. It's real. So it's a real interaction that happened in books. we'll keep going. Thanks to upcoming Moon Knight series starring the famous actor we know Oscar Isaac, a hilarious panel from Marvel Comics has gotten more popular in the last few years. They saw Vigilante calling the vampire Dracula a big fucking nerd. However, there was an actual scene from Marvel Comics where Dracula has owes Moon Knight money. Money? What does Dracula need money for? Again, this is weird, but I'll keep going. While the truth is that the panel is edited as opposed from canonical interaction, the origins and the birth of the meme of Moon Knight has actually been interesting and hilarious. Now, Marvel Comics Moon Knight's real name is Mark Spector. He was chosen by an Egyptian moon god, Khonshu, to be his avatar. Using his money and resources, Spectre has become the Moon Knight, seeking to deliver brutal justice on the street, while also living in dissociative identity disorder, also called DID, or DID. Not the word did, but just the disorder called DID. Now, having over two identities and own unique personality, certainly faced all kinds of drug forces and monsters we know as the werewolf by night in his dynamic career as a hero. Dracula is not an actual one of his primary foes, therefore, the two have barely interacted in all in Marvel Universe, though this doesn't stop one fan from creating a hilarious internet rivalry between the two all the same. Now, latest article, Moon Knight stepping out of Batman's shadow ahead of MCU debut. We're not talking about that unless you want to talk about it. I talk about it in the future probably. I make a note of it. Hold on, right now, a note of it. Crap. I'll make a note of it, okay? I'll make a note of it right now. Okay. Alright. It's going to take a few seconds. Moon Knight is stepping out of Batman's shadow ahead of MCU debut. Okay. So now I just wrote it down on a piece of paper so I remember to do it later. Okay. So having become immensely popular, this comic book meme has created recent years that seen Moon Knight entering a castle, announcing he knew Dracula was inside, and calling him a big fucking nerd. Now, whether this is implied or not, we're going to find out. While also demanding money, which apparently was owed, this creative, hilarious edit has also spawned off other Moon Knight memes, such as Moon Knight harassing the Avengers in a search for Dracula to get his money back. The original panel has text that comes from the Solo Avengers number 3 by Roger Stern and Bob Hall. Now, which has saw Moon Knight be tested for recruitment of nocturnal team of heroes called the Night Shift. Now, there's a novel based off it by Stephen King that has the same kind of deal. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about something else. But while Moon Knight's beef with Dracula is not the part of official Marvel canon, it ended up creating a whole new persona online when it was much more random than hilarious than actual Mark Spector. It's actually grown enough that the Moon Knight has seen in various memes and is considered to be his own separate hero at this point. Being the birth of the internet itself, the fun headcanon could be the meme that Moon Knight is just an additional personality for Spectre, as rarely seen in comics, whose sole goal was to get money back from the vampire lord. Now, in any case, though, whoever started this initial meme is a fucking genius. A fucking genius. So, Not only does this idea of how big it becomes motivating others to create their own fan edits of character well. Case in point, guys, case in point. There are rumors that Dracula could be in the Moon Knight series in Disney Plus. If you want to know more about that, do some research, and I'm sure you'll find something. But despite his non-canon meme being the biggest interaction they've ever had, unknown who the original creator of this meme is, hopefully they're proud of what they've accomplished. Okay, now I'm going to try to find that meme. Again, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it on my photos in my folder. And the meme actually says, I know you're here, Dracula. You're a big beep nerd, which just means for fucking. Where's my beep money? Where's my fucking money? I know you're here, Dracula, you big fucking nerd. Where's my fucking money? Now, the meme is so hilarious that they had to black out the words because, you know, censorship. You have to censor it. So, we know we shouldn't let things get to me, but after all, I'm much of a creature in the night, as Russell is still there, as something about this place was set on the nerves of an edge. Now, I think the meme is hilarious. So, if you want to see the meme, look up the meme. I think it's funny. Moon Knight really did call Dracula a big fucking nerd in the comics. Again, I think that is so freaking hilarious. I think it's so freaking hilarious. I'm just saying. So, okay. So, we're going to be doing one more article. One more article because right now it is an hour and 17 minutes and a few seconds. Yeah. An hour and 17 minutes right now, guys. Yeah. An hour and 17 minutes. Okay. So we're going to find something else. We're going to find something else. We're going to find something else. We're going to find someone else, guys. We're going to find someone else. This is going to be awesome. We're finding someone else. Now since those last few things were actually really funny. Okay, something that's surprisingly also funny. We're talking about Hawkeye has just debunked the most surprising Avenger fan theory. Hawkeye just debunked the most surprising Avenger fan theory. Hawkeye has introduced the surprising Marvel Cinematic Universe theory in the trailer, which seems the Disney Plus series just has debunked it. 2 hours ago, guys. 2 hours ago. Spoilers from the episode 4. Disney and Marvel Hawkeye has introduced this major theory from the trailer, which shows the series surprisingly debunked it. Now, having Kate Bishop wear Hawkeye's old Ronin suit while fighting off criminals in the black market, Clint Barton holiday plans and kids are ruined. So now he's enjoying movie marathon nights. He needs to help Bishop's trail and team the track down the tracksuit mafia. Its commander we know as Mayo Lopez and another figure from the organization. And if he does that, he might be able to come home for Christmas. Woohoo! Christmas! But anyway, but first he has to fight crime first. But though Hawkeye seemed more grounded on Marvel Cinematic Universe stories, its trailer has hidden a more significant threat. In Hawkeye trailer, the Eleanor Bishop, teased by the series, has an Avenger level threat, and Kate would have to help Hawkeye stop it. Now, speculations online have potential threats ran wild. Many fans are wondering if Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin would somehow get involved and make his MCU debut. Episode 3 has hinted, hint hint, wink wink, hint hint, wink wink, Kingpin, mysterious character called Uncle, showing up in the series. An Avenger level threat is still a mystery. The latest article, Hawkeye Phantom mistake can explain Captain America musical problem. We're not talking about that unless you want me to talk about it, but we keep going. Hawkeye Episode 4 surprisingly debunked the theory with the series with bigger impact on the MCU. Episodes that shows that Hawkeye and Kate explain to Eleanor and her fiance that they've been working together. They delivered the much anticipated line from Disney Plus Hawkeye trailer. So, Kate is helping you with an Avenger level threat, eh? Yes, they are. And then, of course, Eleanor asks Hawkeye, and they're like, well, not exactly. Now, Hawkeye responds with this and says, Marvel series kills the theory and more prominent threat hiding in Hawkeye. Seeing has confirmed Hawkeye is more of a street level Avenger story. Marvel hides the true story of marketing, releasing doctor footage of the trailers of concealed characters and plot points. Though Hawkeye trailers promote the Avengers level threat lines, the MCU has deceived fans once again. Now that's a bummer, because Hawkeye generally seems to be a more intimate story about Clint Barton, or CB1, as Kate calls him. Weird nickname, but I know. Dealing with his past and trying to get home for holidays. Wow. Some fans may be tricked by Marvel trailers and made sense that Marvel keeps the series more grounded. Hawkeye is one of the only Avengers left who is superpowered being in some way. Now, regardless of the story being more grounded, there is a possibility significant threats are coming. Avengers level threat could be out of the question at this point. Series has continued to tease someone of a tracksuit mafia of a high position higher than Maya. So, another tease, Kingpin. Hawkeye discovers Jack Dunescu has secretly laundered money to a big guy. This mysterious big guy loves working in the shadows. Hawkeye could soon bring his actions into the light. Now, even though I said this was the last article, I'm going to say one more. I promise. This is the last one. Hawkeye's Thanos was light graffiti has a much funnier hidden meaning. Okay, now since you guys who saw my other video loved it so much, I'm talking about Thanos was right graffiti. Okay, Hawkeye's Thanos was right graffiti is a much funnier meaning. Hawkeye's revealed the Thanos was right graffiti in Marvel series premiere. There's a many subtle Captain America insult. This was from the 29th. Alright, so Thanos was right. Again, this is funny. Thanos was right. Graffiti showed up in scenes of Hawkeye premieres. Had been subtle Captain America insults. Marvel Cinematic Universe Hawkeye, Clint Barton, played by Jeremy Renner, wants to spend a holiday in New York with his family. Unfortunately, Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld gets involved, and things go haywire. After Bishop has donned Hawkeye's old Ronin outfit while fighting off criminals in the black market, she makes enemies with wrong people. Now Hawkeye needs to fast pace as Ronin ensure Bishop's safety and make it home in Christmas. Again, that's interesting. But again, before Bishop has upended Hawkeye's plan, he takes his kids to see the Rogers musical. Now, the show, which was inspired by Chris Evans' Captain America, features some actors singing and dancing their way from history of Avenger adventures. However, Hawkeye's unimpressed and even turns off his hearing aid during the show. To the chagrin of his daughter, though he is not a fan, actor portraying Scarlett Johansson, Natasha Romanoff, stage strikes a chord with Hawkeye. Also spots a kid of the audience doing her best Black Widow impression. Eventually, Hawkeye just leaves the show and leaves the theater, where his kids join him. Latest article, Hawkeye Rogers musical mistake credits and endgame fallout plot hole. We're not talking about that, we'll keep going. While still at the theater, Hawkeye's noticed an odd message about Thanos, and there it was. Hawkeye heads to a bathroom where exiting the venue and noticed some graffiti on the urinal. Graffiti on the urinal. You know how people are, they sometimes graffiti things. Graffiti on the urinal. The message reads, Thanos was right. Now, Hawkeye, who's helped the fight against Mad Titan, felt indifferent about the graffiti. He musters a response. However, there may be a simple reason as to why, and there doesn't have to be with Thanos being right in MCU. Instead, it may be more about Captain America play. It seems that someone did not enjoy Rogers' musical. Bathroom graffiti is how they chose to air their grievance. Okay. Several signs point at the graffiti coming from an amateur theater critic rather than true Thanos sympathizer. For instance, message is not on a street or New York subway. It is in a bathroom at a theater where a Rogers musical takes place. There it was means just a scribbling is probably coming from someone who has a ticket and watched the show. Hawkeye and his family did not enjoy the performance. Likely there are some others that did not appreciate it as well. However, Hawkeye and his kids simply left the theater. It is possible someone chose to voice their displeasure in the best way possible and available to him via the urinal of the men's bathroom. After all, Thanos' plan has worked. This particular person would not have sat through multiple hours of Captain America singing. So, in graffiti, indeed, come from someone siding with Thanos. It's even weirder that no doubt bringing people back in Avengers Endgame has caused some unrest. After all, the Falcon Winter Soldier showed several problems springing up half population suddenly coming back to life. Woo, 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 woo! People coming back to life. Resources become strained, and resources, however, the group of people heading the Rogers musical aren't exactly the pro Thanos crowd. And it's possible a person could have bought a ticket, put a message on a urinal to troll people, and however, it's more likely this particular theater goer heard the cast and plane singing, I can do this all day, and genuinely they wish they wouldn't. I still think that's funny. But okay, I'm going to go down and I'm going to save the photo. Because again, I think it's funny. Just like I said with the Moon Knight thing, I think this is funny too. Okay, guys, okay. Like I said, this is the end of another live stream. The end of another live stream. So I'm going to wrap this up. We're going almost an hour and a half in. So we're going to close this up. And you guys make sure you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.